29 and I find myself wondering, what did happen to the last 10? I ran away with my life, fast forward, never turn back again. It's kind of funny that the more we pass time, the more we need to set them rewind. And 19 was the year I had to leave you, but now I'm seeing all the signs. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure, but one day I'll be yours again. Life lessons come one in a dozen. The other 11 give something from nothing. I sit here looking for an answer. Maybe the biggest question was in the last chapter. You gave me the soul I have today. Without you I never could have moved away. But now I seek what you teach. I do believe I always should have stayed. Yeah. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure, but one day I'll be yours again. One day I'll be One day I'll be
Hey guys, how are we today? It's so good to see you all. There's Erin, how are you? And Van, how are you? Hey Neat Noodle, good to see you. And Tony, it's good to see all you guys so very much. I missed my weekly live stream last week because my big sister had to have surgery, and but she's doing well. She's doing physical therapy now, which we all know sucks. It just sucks, but it will be worth it in the end, and I'm hoping she has less pain. So she still needs your prayers, and I would really appreciate it. I They didn't have those crowns and stuff the last time we were here. Top fans. Wonder who's gonna be the good Van. I'm so very glad for that. Um, I I was gonna ask you about that afterwards. So you are feeling better? I I still don't understand what those top fans crown numbers mean. Do you guys? At least it hasn't changed your names yet, so that's good. I I was contacted last week on TikTok. Hey Mickey, welcome. Um by the today we're going to be talking about a very old case, and it was actually Wilma's daughter that contacted me, Chrissy. And um it makes me sad, you guys, because that's why on my thumbnail it says what it does, and the title is because this Chrissy has advocated. I don't You guys know, with victims' families, I don't look at it one way or the other. Some of them can come forward and speak publicly for their families, and some of them can't. And you guys know that that's just, people's, emotional state. And some people just can't do public speaking, and that's fine too. We don't look at it one way or the other. But Chrissy is the absolute top that is absolutely doing all that she can. And I read in one article she contacted a podcast, and they wouldn't cover her mother's case because of the work that she was in. And you guys know here we don't care a bit about that either. We do not care a bit about that. Actually, that actually sets a fire under us to speak more about those cases, and the ones that others won't speak about. I And also it's touching because Chrissy never knew her mother, unfortunately. And at the end, she was recently on John Lorden's podcast, and I want to play that at the end, and she speaks a little bit about how she keeps going and things like that. But we'll just get right into it. Yep, and in at the bottom of my ticker, there's the numbers. You guys, I had to change this up right before I went live because I had a $10,000 reward in my description and on my ticker, and I heard right before I went live that that is no longer. It's no longer a thing, no longer available. So I did have to change that, but everything is in my description. The link to Chrissy's GoFundMe. Like I always say, do your due diligence, but there is no doubt in my mind that she wouldn't use these funds to help get justice for her mama, for Miss Wilma. And there's also a link to her Facebook group, and also to her website that she made, and that's where I got a lot of this from. You guys remember Miss Lois? Remember we had her granddaughter Allison on here, and that's where I found a lot of the information um for her show too, was on her website. It's full of information, and she has had to find yeah, yeah, that's it, Erin. Thank you so very much. She's had to find everything on her own since 2006. Um, so I'll get let me start pulling everything up for you guys. It'll take me a minute to get back in the groove. You guys know how it is. I miss a week and I feel like I'm totally off, but we'll get there. Um, and you guys, Miss Wilma was born the same year as my mama. So, you guys know, it's always that if we look at these cases, we can find more similarities than differences. I assure you of that. Um, hey, Brett, good to see you. So good to see you. Um, okay, so let me get back over here. Okay, and also, you guys, I left this on my, I made a community post with it. And if you take you guys probably already know this, but I didn't know this, but I took a screenshot of this. And if you got an iPhone, you can then go back to your pictures. And if you hold on that QR code right there, it'll take you to her season of justice, her case on the season of justice, and it tells more. So I thought that was really cool. I'd never seen that before, so that would help in a lot of cases. I think that could take you back there. Um, yeah. So I was contacted by Chrissy about this, and she was on John Lorden's show, and then also she was on Arctic Fox. He's in our community. You guys know him. He's a big advocate too. You can tell that his heart is definitely in the right place. One of the few. And so she was on his show too, and she's trying to go everywhere and do everything that she possibly can. Um so let me see here. Let's get started at the very beginning. And this is Miss Wilma. And also, you guys, that my title says that she barely got to be an adult. She was murdered when she was 23, and she never got to be a child. That's where we're going to start, when she was a child. And it's in one of the articles I read, the sheriff said if it wasn't for bad luck, she wouldn't have had any luck at all. And it's very, very true. Um, but let me tell you guys this just before we get into her history. She was born in 1954, like I said, and they found her remains on October the 4th, 1978, but they thought that she was murdered a few months before that, but she wasn't discovered until then. And she didn't get her name back. She was just unidentified until 2006. But she went by the name Amy and Boots Wellington. Wilma Wellington, Boots Wellington, and Wilma Irvin. And then she also sometimes used aliases including Amy Irvin, Amy Belts, Wilma Belt, or Amy Nissen, or Amy Pizarro. So she could have went by a lot of names. She lived in Los Angeles, San Diego, mostly all in California until a few months before her death. She spent a few weeks in Georgia, and then her body was found in Iowa. But if you have any information whatsoever, and I'm going to tell you guys the information that they need at the end, but if you think you knew her back then, um, under any of those names, please contact the Lyon County Sheriff's Office, and you can also remain anonymous. And that number is 1-800-222-TIPS. Okay, so I wanted to get that out of the way at first, but this is her absolutely beautiful child. It was her and her sister, Mona, and Mona was deaf and she was nonverbal. So she was about 3 or 4 years younger than Wilma, and their mama walked out on the family when she was 8 years old. So her little sister Mona was probably around 5, and it was really bad, you guys. After the mama walked out, I'm not for sure. I had to think, hey, hippie chick, how are you? Good to see you. I have to think that a lot of the abuse was going on before Miss June left too, because when Wilma was finally saved from this environment, she couldn't even use a fork. And so I'm thinking that things just didn't just start to look bad when she was 8 years old, but when she was 8 was when Miss June left. And when their dad would go to work, Charles, he would leave her and her sister both. Trigger warning, you guys. It her childhood is just, no baby should have to go through this. But so trigger warning. But and I'll get through it. Her and her sister would be locked in a closet while their dad went to work. And then things got even worse when he lost his job. The three would start living out of their car in the Los Angeles area. And so I don't know where he was during the day, but he would put Mona in the trunk, and it was Wilma's job to go out and look for food during that time. So for it's hey, grateful middle-aged cat mama, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, reality, good to see you. So good to see you. So that that went on until she was 10 years old, and in 1964, that's when CPS came and took her and her sister. And this is them a little bit after that. This picture really hit me because you can see how she's looking at her sister like, pure love. That's just pure love, and they look well taken care of. Hey Debbie, good to see you. Um, yeah, and so they look really good in this picture. And if they would have gotten to stay with this family that they first went to, things would have looked a whole lot different in my opinion. But it was with the Holtz, and they Marshall and Maxine. And when there is an old article that, and I'll show you guys here. Let me see here. And the sheriff is doing an interview with Maxine over the phone, and she said that when Wilma was unable to read, write, and eat with a fork when they first came to live with them, and she said that the day she and her husband brought Wilma home, she said Wilma started calling Marshall daddy from the beginning. And When they arrived at the home, Holt said Wilma immediately picked up their dog. She said she was excited that she had a puppy all her very own. Oh, bless her, you guys. Things that, we take for granted in our childhoods or that we give our children, this was a really big deal to her. To go from not having food and being locked in a closet to having a dog of their very own, and you saw how well dressed the girls looked now. So and it said that let me see here. Although Holt said Wilma came to them culturally deprived, she said they loved Wilma as their very own and accepted her. So she started teaching Wilma with books at home, and by June 1965, Wilma had reached the first grade. So she was 10 years old. I can't remember, you guys. Would that be like the second or third grade? So, but she was eager to learn. That's what Maxine said, that she was really eager to learn, wanted to learn. And so she was doing really good, and she got to stay there with them for about 2 years. But Maxine developed rheumatoid arthritis, and the CPS would no longer let her care for Wilma. And there was a set of twins that were in the same household, and so they took Wilma and Mona and the twins, and took them out of that household. And but you guys, when they were able to identify Wilma's body in 2006, they had a service, and her first these Marshall and Maxine, they came to the service to and I think they're the ones that probably picked out the tombstone for her too. So that really hit me after all those years. What, 45 years or something? They oh, let me turn it up, guys. Um, I had it really low. Sorry, I had it low. Um, it really touched my heart that they traveled all that way from California to Iowa to her service once they found out who she was and everything after all those years. So after they removed her from their home, she went to another foster home, and then her third and final foster home. She was put into, it kind of reminded me of the same place in Ohio that we spoke about, with where the two missing girls came from, an institution like that. She went for a little while to a place called Ramona Mountain View School in California where she lived, and it was kind of an inpatient thing. That there is a photo of her there. Let me see if I can find it. This one. And this is her with the Holtz, and you could tell how happy she was. And then on the right, that was the institution that she was at for a little while. But it said upon completion of 10th grade, she returned to live with her final foster family August 10th, 1972. Um, so then on her 18th birthday, the sheriff said they believe Wilma went for a walk and wasn't heard from again until the summer of 1973 when she married Donald Wellington. And let me tell you guys about Donald. Not a good dude at all. Um, I believe, and others believe, that when she married him, that he's the one that first got her into the sex trade. Um, while she was living with him, it was about this is from Chrissy's website. It says Wilma married young. Her first husband was Donald Wellington. Wellington is believed to have acted as more of a pimp than a husband. He had a record that included pandering. And she says, my mom never knew stability or healthy relationships. She was probably easily talked into the sex trade. Shortly after her marriage to Donald Wellington, the arrest for prostitution began. And there was actually about 5 that I saw within 2 years. Hey, Miss W. Thank you so much. I hope you have a good day. Um, and so, and another thing that leads me to believe that he was definitely a pimp was when she starts having her first children. The first child that she's actually still married to Donald, and she has her first child. Let me see if I can zoom in here. These, you know, um, with Pizarro, and let me see here. Michael Pizarro Jr. She actually had two kids within 7 months, you guys. She had, so the first baby, the oldest, was Michael Pizarro Jr., and he was born in May 10th, 1974. But her second child was Donald Wellington Jr. So she's married to Donald Wellington, but she has a child with Michael Pizarro first, and then she had a child with Wellington. And the babies were born. Hey, Eddie, good to see you. It's really good to see you. Um, and guys, it's so sad because they were born within at around 7 months. So they one was born in May and the other one was born in December, and they were both born premature, and they were both taken as infants by CPS. Chrissy, that advocates so much for her mother, she hasn't met her two half brothers. She's tried to find them, and they she doesn't even know if they're alive still. But on her most recent interview, she said that she did purchase the Ancestry DNA kit, and so she is going to do that, and hopefully she can reconnect with them if possible. Um, so after she somehow she got away from Donald after she had the two kids. Oh, and this is her with Donald Wellington, I believe, Jr. Let me see here. And Chrissy looks like her in this picture, I think. Bless her heart, you guys. No, this is when she was holding her first baby. Yeah, May 16th, 1974. I love looking at old pictures, don't you guys? But it makes me sad to see, to know what happened to her shortly after this. Can you guys imagine all that she went through just in her. She was murdered when she was only 23, you guys. Think of all that we've done since we've been 23, and all that she's missed out on. So after the boys were born in June 21st, 1977, she married this man, Robert Alexander Irvin. And this is Chrissy's dad. She does look really happy in this picture. You gotta admit. Um, October 1975, it says. Um, and all this time, she was still living in, it is, Van, it really is. So this was still in Long Beach, California, and her and Robert were living and working at a shop, and it was at the intersection of Bellflower and Artesia in Bellflower, California. And then on August 18th, 1977, she had a daughter, Crystal Irvin Haas, but now she goes by Chrissy Atkinson. Um, hey, Terry Lynn, how are you? Good to see you. Um, And so, since her first two sons were taken, she thought that her daughter would be taken too. So, she actually ends up leaving her at the hospital, you guys. So, but thankfully, her third foster family, the Haas, they foster Chrissy too, and they do end up adopting her. And Chrissy said that after that she always stayed in touch with all three of her foster families that Wilma did. And so, they were concerned when they didn't hear from her, but nobody ever filed a missing persons report. Um, after what they've been able to find out is after that she had Chrissy. So that was in August of 1977. February of 1978, so a few months later, she left California with an older man, Charles Inman Belt. So she was 22 at this time. No, 23. And he was in his 50s. And she goes with him from California, and they live in an apartment with his mama for only a few weeks in Atlanta, Georgia. And he said that he thought that she hitchhiked back. I don't know how in the world she met him, anyways, in California to go back to Atlanta with him, but she did. And he says that he always thought that she hitchhiked back to California, but unfortunately she didn't. She goes to and Chrissy says, and I think too, that this is where a big key is that's missing. Um, she didn't have a car at this time either, and she ends up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and she starts working. And I guess you guys, back in the 70s, that it's kind of like it is now with the sex trade, and so I'm thinking that and maybe she was even trafficked, or who really knows. But she ends up working for this place. They called it Playgirls or Playmates back in the day. And they had it in the paper and everything, you guys. It says call escort service, dating service, home dancing parties. And it's ran by a 30-year-old man. And it talks down here, and he's talking about how that there's no sex involved, he says, whatsoever. And he made this service because the town was dead, and that men could, instead of going out to bars and meeting women, they could just call and have a pretty girl dance for them and stuff like that. But I don't think that you would I don't know, you guys. I guess some men would. We're not going to get into it a whole lot, but we know that there was more going on than what he says, in my opinion. So she ends up working for this place, and then I'll tell you guys. So in on October 4th, 1978, there is a 19-year-old utility worker that is burying cable. And she had gone undiscovered for a few months because the grass was so high. But she was found, some places say 20 feet and some places say 20 inches off the road. So I'm still not very sure about that. So in 1978, it was a 19-year-old, and he was working on doing that, and he found there is a part in one of the interviews where he's talking about how that he thought it was a mannequin, like that we always do, that we hear that a lot, that it was a mannequin. So he ends up finding her, you guys. And I'll tell you that they don't think that, well, they think that it's found a few miles from this man that they ended up interviewing in 2009. And they believe that he was having one of these parties. It's a few miles from his house. So I'll tell you guys about him when we get to him. But she was found with these go-go boots on and some pants. And they think that it could be a sexual motivated crime at first, but they end up thinking that it was robbery from another sex worker that was working with her. And let me tell you what they found in her first. Oh, this is so very sad, you guys. Trigger warning, very big trigger warning. All of her teeth were missing except two, and her lower jaw was completely gone, and it was never found. And it's a thousand wonders that they were able to even get any fingerprints from her. They ended up getting two fingerprints that they were able to but they were able to actually identify her with in 2006. They tried to run her fingerprints in 2000, but they didn't get any matches. But in 2006, they were able to. I don't know how in the world they were able to get fingerprints back then, anyways. Well, I guess I talked him up. There is Aries. Oh my goodness. I must have had him on the brain. Oh my goodness. Good to see you, Aries. Good to see you, buddy. Um, and so, but there was a rope tied around her ankles, and this makes a difference because they think that she was drugged there, and they end up thinking that it was a woman, and so it does make sense that a woman wouldn't be able to carry all of that, all of that weight. And so after that, they end up exhuming her body in 2007, and her casket was full of water, and so they didn't get a lot, but they did end up being able to find her cause of death, but they haven't revealed that to anybody. They're keeping that because they said it was very, very brutal, and they don't think that only one person could have done that. So that's why they think that. Now we get to the suspects. And I'm going to play this video for you guys first. This was the first that they announced it, and it's in 2016 that they announced their first suspects. At first, the first article that I read, I forget the year that it was, but they were talking about they had 8 suspects. So at this time in 2016, they narrowed it down to 2 that they're going to talk about here. And most of these videos, you guys, that I'm sharing, you can find, I have it in Chrissy has it on her link tree and on her website, and I have those in my description, but I'll also drop them so that you guys can see them too. Hey Jen, how are you? Good to see you.
A breaking news alert on KSFY. A major development tonight in a 38-year-old cold case from Lyon County, Iowa. Good evening to you. I'm Courtney Collin.
I'm Brian Allen. In October of 1978, the body of a woman named Wilma Nissen was found in a country road ditch. For 28 of those years, she remained unidentified. A fingerprint match made in 2006 finally revealed her identity.
For nearly 4 decades, detectives have been hard-pressed to say what happened the night of her death and who might be responsible.
That changes tonight. We are going to show you the person investigators believe is responsible for Wilma Nissen's death. This picture was taken in the mid-1970s. It is of a woman who worked as an escort and prostitute in and near Sioux Falls during that time. It is this woman that Lyon County investigators believe killed Wilma Nissen.
We've done extensive interviews on our suspect, and
so they do know, they call her Sugar, you guys. So they do know who Sugar is they know who she is, and they have interviewed her, and it said that she has actually failed. Hey, Sunday to Doodles, how are you? Good to see you. And it said that she's actually failed 3 polygraph tests, you guys. And one of the things that he's going to tell you is they need somebody to identify her themselves. Like, they're keeping her name secret because they want you to come forward and say, this is who Sugar was, this is her name, and I know her this and that way, and stuff like that.
we just cannot get the suspect to come to admit to it.
For 16 years, Chief Deputy Jerry Berkey has been working to solve this case. Without notes, he can tell you Wilma Nissen's life story of being born in California, living out of a car with her sister before being passed through a series of foster homes until adulthood, when her life spiraled even more out of control.
I think she was married 3 or 4 times to different men, had a couple of kids. They were taken away from her by local jurisdictions and put into foster care.
In the spring of 1978, Nissen traveled from California to Atlanta, Georgia. A few months later, she was here in Sioux Falls.
She was actually working for escort services. doing prostitution out of Sioux Falls, and she ended up in Lyon County, we believe, because residents of Lyon County were hiring escorts from the escort service in Sioux Falls.
But while Jerry Berkey knows how Wilma Nissen lived,
I forgot to tell you guys about a man actually in 2009. I'll have to show you guys. They in 2009 they actually charged a man, but it wasn't for her murder. It was for lying to police, and they think that it was at his house at a party that she was murdered. They don't think that, they don't know if other people actually saw Sugar do this or not, but they think that people saw what led up to it, and so they need those people to come forward also. And they said, the statute of limitations for any kind of sex crimes or anything like that is way past, you guys, and things are different than it was in the 70s. You're not going to be looked at the same way that you might have been looked at back then. So, they're still hoping that people will come forward.
and how she died. What has been elusive is who might have killed her. This picture changes that. Berkey knows her name, but isn't revealing it at this time. He also knows where she lives and has spoken to her about this case. What he needs is for someone to come forward and independently identify her.
Our suspect was an escort, a prostitute, a dancer who liked to rob other escorts, prostitutes, and dancers.
Berkey tells me the motive for Wilma Nissen's murder was robbery. This woman and Nissen worked for a Sioux Falls escort service that went by the names Playgirls and Playmates. In the summer of 1978, several Lyon County residents attended sex parties in western Lyon County. The man who hosted several of these parties has been questioned, but has not been overly helpful with the investigation. Both Nissen and the suspect worked at these parties as dancers and as prostitutes.
And we believe she was killed at one of those parties.
Evidence shows Nissen was killed at the location of one of these Lyon County sex parties, but her body was dumped several miles away in a ditch along a county road. Jerry Berkey knows there are people living in Lyon County right now who attended those parties in the summer of 1978, who saw Wilma Nissen and this woman together. Someone who can connect the dots of this case.
They didn't see Wilma get killed at this party. They saw something that led up to her being killed, and they just don't realize what they saw.
While investigators believe this woman killed Wilma Nissen, there is also another suspect.
The cause of death also makes us realize that one person didn't do it alone.
Berkey says this woman had help in murdering Wilma Nissen. This second person is also a woman, also a dancer, also a prostitute. They don't have a picture of her or her.
They said that both of these women, we got Sugar here. She went by Sugar. They know who she is, but there is another woman that went by Peaches, and they don't even have a photograph of her, but they say that she is from Thunder Bay in Canada. And I'm not sure if it's this video or another video, but they said that that Sugar actually fled to Canada after this murder, and she stabbed somebody and then fled back to the United States. And I did see that the sheriff said that in one article. Chrissy said on John Lorden she'd heard that rumor, but I did see the sheriff say that. I actually sent it to Neat, so she can be my witness. Neat saw it too. We did see that. Yeah. So they need to know who Peaches is altogether. They say she is a light complected. If she's from Canada, it wouldn't be African American, it would be Black Canadian. Me and Neat figured that out too. I really appreciate her for that. And she would have worked in the sex trade, in the 1970s. So that's also something that they're trying really, really hard to find out. So if anybody knows that, they need to know that too.
Her name, only the stage name she used, Peaches.
She's a light complected black female. from Thunder Bay, Canada. She worked for the escort service in Sioux Falls for a while.
Berkey says 2 women killed Wilma Nissen to steal the money she had earned while working at a Lyon County sex party in the summer of 1978.
There's a very high probability that there's a Lyon County resident that knows what happened or saw what happened. Even though they didn't have any involvement in it, they're at least a witness.
Take another look. This is the suspect in the Wilma Nissen murder investigation. If you know who this person is, contact Chief Deputy Jerry Berkey with the Lyon County Sheriff.
That's the only photograph that I have to you guys. I'll show you. I downloaded it. Also, you guys, if my Wi-Fi gets wonky, I think there's a storm coming, so don't worry. I'll be back and fix it. Hey, Wilby, good to see you. How are you? I know, Aaron, the peaches in that case, that reminded me of her too. It absolutely did. I know why I saw Aries now, you guys. On my computer, for some reason, it doesn't, on my phone, it shows Neat Noodle, but I mean, it shows the flag, but on my computer, it says UA beside of it instead of the flag. And so I thought it was Aries. Let's see here. So this is the picture that I have of her. Let's see here. And that picture is on the website too. This is a photograph of where she was found. It's only a few miles from John Van Gameron's house. And now I'm going to tell you guys about him. This is him. And he was questioned and charged in 2009. He was 51 when she was murdered, and he was in his 80s when he was questioned. And now I do believe he's still alive, and he would be in his 90s now. So there is one article that I wanted to show you guys that told exactly, this is a filing that they were making back then, but it tells more about his charges. Let me show you guys. I need to come back and make it bigger, don't I? I almost forgot, but I got you guys. Let's see here. Now it tells down here. This was just the motions that they file. You know, it ended up that oh my gosh, you guys, I gotta sign in. Hang on just a second. Let me sign back in. Let me see here. Sorry guys, I was signed in on my phone and I forgot I would have to sign in here too. Just 1 second. And I'll come back and get you guys. Alright, there we go. Now let me see here. It was that the prosecutor had ended up, he was the one that gave Van Gameron, read him his Miranda rights, and so they were trying to get him recused. This is what this article is about. But the part that I want to read to you guys is the part down here that talks about let me see here. So it says, according to Lyon County, Iowa court documents, Van Gameron allegedly perjured himself while under oath during an investigation into the death of Wilma June Nissen, whose body was found in a ditch October 4th, 1978. And this is where it says he would have been 51 years old at the time of Nissen's murder. It wasn't until 2006. That's when she was identified, you guys. And her name was released during a press conference. and it says the felony charges dated August 14th of this year, so 2009, indicate that on or about June 19th, Van Gameren stated under oath that he had dancers at his house on only 2 occasions and at no time had prostitutes at his house. Both of those statements can be proven false, the complaint states. On that same date in June, Van Gameren also allegedly denied transporting a stripper or prostitute from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to his residence, which is located just a few miles from where Nissen's body was located more than 30 years ago. So, and then on this day, so the first time that he lied was in June, but the second time he lied was on August 14th. He denied under oath that he knew a woman by the name of Annette Jacobson. And so I'm wondering, you guys, if this is Sugar or someone else. I don't know. I can't say. And even after he was shown 2 photographs of her and denied knowing who had arranged for strippers to come to his residence for a bachelor party. And it says, in fact, Van Gameren helped organize the party, the complaint states. And the sixth complaint says, while under oath, Van Gameren stated that while in Las Vegas, he had his wallet stolen or lost in the airport, when in actuality, John had his wallet stolen while with a prostitute, according to witnesses. And he ended up, so he was charged with 6 felonies, I think, and each one of those carried 5. He could have faced up to 5 years in prison for each of those, but he ended up spending less than 3 hours in jail, and he posted a $5,000 bond. So then, yeah, I think so will be. And also they had, I don't know how prevalent it was to have those kind of businesses, that the Playmates and Playgirls, the name of that business. It also said that they had billboards and everything back then. So and plus this was a long time later. The sheriff said at first that he admitted to the parties, but then after a while he wouldn't even admit to having those parties. But then, you guys, just a few short months later, those charges were dropped. And I'm going to show you guys this. I'm going to show you guys that now. Hopefully it doesn't make me sign back in again. Nope. Let me see here. And then after this, we get to a few more updates. So this says that perjury charges against 83-year-old John Van Gameren have been dismissed without prejudice. So I looked that up just to be sure, and that means that they could file them again in the future if they needed to. It says he was charged with 6 counts of perjury, which stemmed from the cold case investigation into the murder of Wilma June Nissen. Nissen's body was found in a ditch near the Westline School in October 1978, but was not identified until 2006. The delay in proceeding with the charges arose from ongoing discussions between Lyon County Attorney Carl Peterson, the Lyon County Sheriff's Office, Van Gameren, and his attorney, the release states. Perjury is a very unique criminal proceeding, Peterson stated in the release. It affords a defendant the opportunity to erase his allegations of providing false testimony by making truthful statements to law enforcement under oath. So I guess that if you do end up telling the truth, that they'll dismiss them. But how do they even? I don't know. I never did really understand this, you guys. It says Van Gameren and his attorney reportedly cooperated with law enforcement after the complaints were filed. The investigation has substantial new information to determine the fate of Nissen, Peterson stated, adding that no further comments regarding the dismissed charges would be made. So basically that was it. And that's all that we know about him, Van Gameren. So they did this in 2009, and then what we just watched was in 2016, where they shown the photos of Sugar. And so now the next thing that I have, hey Trista, good to see you. Well, I hope it went well. The next thing that I have is from 2021, and it tells about some DNA that they have. They do have some DNA, but the type that they have, it can't be put into CODIS. But this was 10 years ago that they got this, and Chrissy thinks that definitely more could be done with it now. So she don't know why it isn't.
Along Interstate 29 is being investigated by South Dakota's Department of Criminal Investigation.
This doesn't have anything to do with it, you guys. This was just something at the beginning, so I'll get us through this.
23-year-old Wilma Nissen's life was as troubling as her death. Nissen was the Jane Doe found murdered in a ditch in northwest Iowa in 1978.
Nissen, who had been working as an escort and dancer out of Sioux Falls, wasn't identified until nearly 30 years after she was killed. As the years pass, now adding up to 43, the case gets colder.
But as we see in tonight's KETLAND News investigation, Angela Kennecke found out that cracking this case could hinge on technology that isn't yet available here.
Not much happens along these rural roads in Lyon County, Iowa. But in 1978, the entire community was in for a shock.
Somebody was walking the ditches, they were burying cable or gonna bury cable, and he came across the body just to the west of us here in the ditch.
Wilma's body was discovered by the worker just about 20 inches from gravel road, but it was hidden by high weeds that weren't mowed at the time, allowing her body to be undiscovered for several months. The worker, Steve Husong, was just 19 on October 4th, 1978. He talked to KETLAND News about his grisly discovery in 2006.
First thing I thought was a mannequin. I really thought it was just a mannequin laying in the ditch. And then I got a little closer and realized that it was an actual body.
Badly decomposed. She had white leather boots on, and her feet were tied together.
Retired Lyon County Sheriff.
Bless his heart too, you guys. The little fella that found her was just 19 years old and probably on his first job. And who would have thought that, nobody thinks that you would come across something like that. So bless his heart too.
Sheriff's Office Detective Jerry Berkey worked the case for nearly a decade.
To have a Jane Doe found in the middle of nowhere that's not from around here, where do you even start?
Finally, in 2006, a lab technician matched her left thumbprint and a print card from the Los Angeles Police Department, where Wilma Nissen had been arrested for prostitution. With Jane Doe identified, the real work to catch her killer could begin.
They lost all those years of finding her family members, finding people that knew her. I traveled extensively working on this case, and we'd find people 6 months after they died.
She was a prostitute. I think she did it to get by. She was in the system, and I think she was married a bunch of times, and I think she was just trying to get the love she never got growing up.
By the age of 23, Wilma had also given birth 3 times. Her children were all placed in foster care.
I was always told that she just kind of left the hospital.
Oh, I wanted to tell you guys too how Chrissy ended up finding out when her adopted parents, they never did tell her about her mother. It wasn't until she was about 11 years old that she ended up finding her mom's name in some of their paperwork. And she said, so from 11 until she was 28, when she found out that her mother had been the unidentified Jane Doe, that she had looked up the same name in the phone books trying to call her, and she'd even contacted talk shows and things like that to try to find her mama. So she's always tried so very hard, even back then before she knew.
when I was born.
Chrissy Atkinson was adopted by her mother's foster parents. She later learned that her biological mother had been severely neglected and locked in a closet as a child and eventually removed from her California home.
She was basically wild when they got her. She'd never been to school. She couldn't read or write. She couldn't eat with a fork. She was, I think, 10 years old.
At the age of 17, Atkinson began looking for her biological parents. But it wasn't until 2006 that she got an answer about what happened to her mother.
The same friend's mom that found my biological dad actually showed up at my house with a newspaper article that they'd identified through fingerprints that they'd identified my biological mom.
To hear that your biological mother had been murdered.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was a shock. It answered a lot of questions on where was she, why couldn't I find her, why did I never hear from her, and brought up a whole bunch of new ones.
The biggest new question, who murdered Wilma Nissen?
We have our ideas who's responsible, but proving that is going to be impossible.
Impossible why?
We don't have the evidence.
In 2007, the Lyon County Sheriff released a photo of this woman connected to the case. She went by the name of Sugar.
He just said it was going to be impossible. I don't like that he said that, because we always have to have hope, and especially the investigators. They have to give the families hope. You know, I still think it's definitely can be solved.
Investigators say Sugar and another dancer known as Peaches robbed other dancers. While Peaches has never been identified, they do know who Sugar is.
Yes, we have spoken with Sugar several times.
You've spoken with her?
Yeah.
What came out of that?
Denials.
Do you believe she killed Wilma?
I don't know who I believe killed Wilma, but I do know there's several people that know who killed Wilma, or that were there and saw Wilma get killed. Now, whether she did it or not, I don't know. Whether she knows about it, I do believe she knows about it.
Detective Berkey says one suspect failed a lie detector test 3 separate times. However, that wasn't enough to press charges. This man, John Van Gameren, now 94 years old, was arrested in August of 2009 and charged with 6 counts of perjury for lying to investigators about transporting strippers and prostitutes from Sioux Falls to his Northwest Iowa home. Those charges were later dismissed.
Initially, he actually told us about the parties, and then he started denying the parties even.
And did you ever get any good answers from him?
No.
Van Gemeren is not a suspect in Wilma's murder. A serial killer known as the truck stop killer once was. Lyon County received federal funds to investigate whether Robert Ben Rhodes murdered Wilma. Rhodes had been living in Sioux Falls in 1970.
That reminds me, you guys, Iowa, so the same state, just had their cold case team just solved their first. So that reminds me that it absolutely can be done. And I'm going to show you guys that story at the end too for our good story. It's not a great story, but it's a good story, and it does give us hope.
78. Berkey interviewed Rhodes in the Joliet, Illinois prison.
We more or less ruled him out. He hadn't started, well, he called it stealing hubcaps until after that time.
In 2007, Wilma Nissen's body was exhumed in hopes of extracting new DNA evidence. Unfortunately, time and water washed that hope away. However, investigators were able to determine her cause of death, but have never made it public.
Because we got to hold on to something in case we do come across the suspect that did it. You know, a lot of this is out in the public, and people know, but that's one thing nobody knows.
Except for you. Yeah. There's one other piece of evidence that investigators are holding on to, just waiting for technology to catch up. The Lyon County Sheriff's Office hired a Scandinavian-based company using a new technique.
And we hired them to go through our evidence, i.e. the rope or clothing, and try to come up with as much DNA as they could. And they could find DNA, but they had to amplify it.
The FBI's criminal DNA databases, or CODIS, currently don't support amplified DNA, so that evidence hasn't been of any use. However, eventually it could lead to her killer.
With the amplified DNA, they were actually able to rule myself out because I had handled the evidence. The previous sheriff, I know we made sure.
When Chrissy was talking to John Lorden, she was saying that this amplified DNA, even though it can't be put in CODIS, that if they had somebody a match, well, like he's saying here, they ruled people out, but they could also rule people in. Like, what if they took Sugar, or if they could find Peaches? What if they took their DNA, even, what do you call that? With, their discarded DNA. They wouldn't even have to get a warrant or anything like that. They could also do that. And she's saying she doesn't know. They're saying it's an open investigation, she says, but nobody is investigating, she doesn't think. So I just thought about that. Yeah, that's a really good question too. Why don't they do that?
His DNA wasn't contaminated on the evidence. Actually, I think the previous two sheriffs, we had them test to make sure it wasn't contaminated evidence.
So is there one person's DNA or more than one person's DNA?
There was more than one person's DNA.
Discovering the identity of her mother's killer or killers has now become a mission for Atkinson.
The more people that hear her story, the more likely it is. They're so close, it feels like they're so close. So just one little thing could solve this. So the more people that hear it, the better the odds. She deserves to have justice. She deserves to, whoever did this to her deserves to face justice.
Absolutely.
While Wilma Nissen's remains were exhumed in 2007, the Lyon County Sheriff's Office has not reburied them. They say they're holding on to them in case new technology develops that could help yield more clues in the cold case.
That makes me really sad too, you guys, that some good did come out of her exhumation. They were able to determine her cause of death, even though they weren't able to get a lot of DNA. But that makes me really, really sad that she hasn't been reburied either. Chrissy said that she was talking to them, and she said, well, where is she right now? And they said, oh, she's right here. And they still have her in storage at their office. Neat says Chrissy also said that the investigators don't seem interested in talking with her. Yeah. But I did see Neat when she was talking to Arctic that she said that she does have an appointment with them next month, I think, and there is a new lady investigator. So maybe I hate I know that they all care, but it seems like sometimes women have more of a that they can, sometimes that you guys know what I'm saying. And so hopefully that she'll be able to help more. Women don't seem to want to wait on things, they have that tenacity to get out there and get it done. So there's one more video of just a few weeks ago. Well, actually it was in May. Let me see here. Let me show you guys. The Lyon County Sheriff's Office made a statement. And then there's one more video that I want to show you guys. So it was on May the 8th, and it says, in 1978, the body of a deceased female was found in rural Lyon County. The deceased female's identity was unknown until 2006, when she was identified as Wilma Nissen. Though multiple investigators have worked diligently on the case throughout the years, the case has not been solved. It has now been approximately 47 years since Miss Nissen was found deceased. She was a victim who was murdered, and though many years have passed, the investigation is still open, and the goal is to seek justice for Miss Nissen and her family. With the passing of time and a case going from one investigator to the next, there are significant challenges in solving a case. However, with the passing of time, advancements are also made in forensic science and technology. Over time, as these advancements have been made, the investigative team has sought out utilizing these advancements to provide information to further the investigation. This continues today as investigative team continues to seek out forensic solutions which may lead to additional information for investigators. Despite the passing of time, as this is an active, open investigation, there are many specific details which will not be released. Doing so could compromise the investigation and any potential prosecution. Guys, I think that I left it in my description. Chrissy is trying to get it past where after so many years and nothing has come of it, that they have to share more details with the family. And that I know it's on her link tree that she leaves that, and on her website. Me too, Neat. Absolutely, me too. Uh, There's a twofold purpose for this update. The first is to communicate that the investigation is open, active, and ongoing. Our office has a significant caseload with current cases, but as much as we are able with the resources we have, we continue to investigate this case. This includes seeking assistance from other law enforcement agencies. Second, with the passing of time, those who may have been involved or have knowledge of what happened to Miss Nissen age as well. We urge those people to come forward and share any information they may have. It may hopefully have been weighing on the conscience of those involved or with the knowledge of it for approximately 47 years. Our office and the victim's family urge anyone with knowledge to come forward to assist in moving this investigation forward, obtaining closure for the family and justice for Miss Nissen. And then it leaves the phone numbers and the email that I have in my description also. And there is one more video that I have, and this was May the 23rd of this year.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Travis Chen. Tim has the night off. The Lyon County, Iowa Sheriff's Office recently put out a statement on the cold case of Wilma Nissen, who was found dead in 1978 and not identified until 2006. Authorities say the investigation is still open, active, and ongoing. Reporter Don Jorgensen has the story. It's our top story at 10.
Chrissy Atkinson walks quietly across the cemetery near Rock Rapids with a bouquet of roses to place at her mother's grave.
I want to know who killed her, and I want to know why.
Her mother, who worked as an escort and dancer out of Sioux Falls, was found murdered in a ditch just outside of Rock Rapids. Her feet were tied together. Atkinson, who lives in Kansas City, has been actively looking for answers for almost 20 years and has constantly been calling the Lyon County Sheriff's Office to get an update on the cold case.
I was finally able to meet with the new sheriff and with the investigator. That was really good.
Atkinson believes that they are making some ground. They issued a statement that says, in part, despite the passing of time, as this is an active and open investigation, there are many specific details which will not be released. Doing so could compromise the investigation. It goes on to say the investigation team continues to seek out forensic solutions which may lead to additional information for investigators.
They're still working on it, thankfully.
It kind of hurt my feelings but who am I in this, But it kind of hurt my feelings in that statement. They said with their very heavy caseload in the area, they make time where they can. I don't think this area is very big, so I don't know that they would have a ton, but they probably don't have many investigators either, so I kind of like how they didn't say that, but it's not up to me, but I'm sure that hurt Chrissy's feelings too.
They have amplified DNA, but it's not enough to put into CODIS.
CODIS is an acronym for Combined DNA Index System, which is a database for DNA samples of convicted offenders. The FBI's criminal database doesn't support amplified DNA, so that evidence hasn't been of any use. But they're still hoping technology will change and finally pinpoint who killed Atkinson's mom. What frustrates you the most?
not being able to help in some way. I want answers.
The Iowa Attorney General's Cold Case Unit is getting involved by distributing a deck of cards with pictures and names of victims.
And those are going to jails and prisons in the hopes that somebody would be like, oh, hey, I know that person.
Wilma is the Six of Hearts.
Guys, we've heard this work before, haven't we? There used to be a podcast that was called something. Jen, I think you sent it to me once, and they go over all these cases on these cards, and I believe some actually get solved that way. Yeah, true, Wilby. Ain't that the truth for real?
Amy Kelly, who is a homicide and violent crime advocate with the Family Crisis Center and Sioux Center, says if and when there's ever an arrest, she'll be there to assist.
We will be involved as much or as little as our clients ask for us to be. We're client driven, so if they want to talk to us once and then again around the time of a trial, that's fine. Or sometimes we meet with them every week, or it's just whatever they're needing at the time.
Atkinson wants to be more involved, but in the meantime, she'll keep putting the word out on her social media pages and podcasts.
Anyone that can listen about her story, I'll tell, because hopefully, someone out there has to know something about it. It's just a matter of finding the right person.
And the Lyon County, Iowa Sheriff's Office is asking for people who have any information about Nissen's murder to come forward. They can call the Sheriff's Office at the number at the bottom of your screen.
Yep, and that's the same number that I have at the bottom of my screen and in my description too. And if you guys weren't here at the very beginning, Christy was the one that contacted me on my TikTok. And you guys know that my YouTube channel is small, but my TikTok is even smaller. So it made me feel good that she reached out to me, but it also made me sad that that she's reaching out to so many. She's doing absolutely all that she can. I wanted to read you guys one more thing. That she wrote on her website for her mama. Let me find it for you guys. I think it's called something like the deck. I believe something like that, Jen. Let me see here, and I'll come back in. Okay. And this is her card that they just shown. I'll have to look at that because I think they've done things like that in the past and it has really worked. So this is let him know about it, Brad. Let's see. I will this is it right here, and this is where I got a lot of the information from for my live today. It's full of information. And Christy made this, but what I wanted to read to you guys was down here at the bottom. Let me see here. So this one part, she says, I 100% believe she met someone in the Atlanta area that took her to the Sioux Falls, South Dakota area. That's over 1,000 miles away from Atlanta. Wilma did not have a car. And I believe in my entire existence that she met someone there that convinced her to go with them to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. But that wasn't what I was wanting to tell you guys. It's down here. Let's see here. I've been doing my best to fight for her. Nobody did when she was alive. Now all of my Meta accounts, her Facebook and Instagram, have been permanently deleted, but I think that she has those back now. Well, it was back when I looked at it earlier today, but it says, it almost crushed me. I lost contact with a lot of amazing people. It almost broke me, but I can't stop. I can't let it break me. I am her daughter, and I intend to fight for her until her case is solved or my dying breath. Remember her name, Wilma June Nissen. Please share her story to anyone that will listen. Remember her name. Say it, know it. She was my mother. I know her case can be solved. Please share her name, her case, her story. Wilma June Nissen. My mother was failed by her parents, by the system, by her husband. She always struggled. She had to fight for survival from the day she was born. I wish I could have fought for her in life. Know that I'm fighting now. And so that's what I'm going to tell you guys too. I I have the anybody that if you can email me, and if you need any of my sources, I don't care a bit to share. I always share anything that I can. One of my friends, she can't see very well, and we before I had a channel or anything, she wanted to see a document that a creator had, and she wanted to print it off so she could look at it closer, and the creator wouldn't share their document with us, me or her, either one, and that's all she wanted to do. It's like they didn't want to share. They were protective of their information for some reason, and so I, ever since that, I swore that I would never be that way. So if you need to use any of my sources or need me to help in any way, I do not care whatsoever at all. Um, but now I want to tell you guys about a case that was recently solved, like just a few months ago. And it was in Iowa too. And it's not a great story, but it's a good story. And it was in March of this year. It says Robert Allen Davis, 61, of Council Bluffs, was arrested March the 10th and charged with first-degree murder more than 3 decades after Barbara Lentz disappeared in Harris County. And you guys, this is even they even charged him without finding her remains. And you guys know how hard that is. So this is like amazing that and it says his arrest is the result of an investigation by the state's cold case unit launched last summer by Attorney General Brenna Byrd's office to investigate Iowa's more than 400 unsolved murders. It's the unit's first arrest. It's the first arrest, you guys. So, it says cold case investigators believe Davis is responsible for the death of Lentz, who was 31 when she disappeared in May 1989. She was last believed to be in her apartment in Woodbine. Lentz's body still has not been located. So there is a video that I wanted to show you of two little videos that I wanted to show you about that. So I wanted to give and you guys, Chris, she is so sweet on John Lorden's. She said that if anybody else is going through the same thing, to reach out to her. I think I put her email in my description too. So she's really sweet about that. And if anybody happens to come across this live stream and that is going through the same thing, possibly think that all's lost and there's no hope for cold case to be solved, I just wanted to show you guys this and prove that it absolutely can be. Neat says, I remember this. It was a long time coming. So happy it finally happened. Yes, absolutely. Let me come back and get you guys. And then after this, I have one short video from her daughter, from Barbara's daughter.
We start with breaking news this afternoon. An Iowa man is arrested for murder in a 36-year-old Iowa cold case. Robert Allen Davis was taken into custody and charged with first-degree murder. Court documents accuse Davis of murdering Barbara Lentz. The 31-year-old mother disappeared in 1989 from the town of Woodbine in Harrison County. Her body has never been found. A criminal complaint says Davis was Lentz's boyfriend and was known to be violent and abusive. This complaint says Lentz expressed to several people that she was afraid of Davis and tried to get away from him. The complaint also says Davis assaulted Lentz several times, even strangling her to the point of unconsciousness. Iowa's cold case unit has been investigating this case for several months. KCCI was working.
And so this seems like an instance where they knew who it was, but just didn't have enough evidence to charge him. And so that's really, really good that that since the cold case unit took over, that they did find enough evidence. This gives me a lot of hope, you guys.
On a story about it in the weeks before the arrest. We asked Barbara Lenn's daughter what an arrest would mean to her. She was only 3 years old at the time her mother was reported missing.
If there comes a day where you get that call and they say, we arrested this person, what would that mean to you?
Oh, I don't even know if I would have words for that right now. It'd be very emotional, very emotional. It's something that I have honestly waited for my whole life.
Court documents say Davis was living in Council Bluffs. He's currently in the Harrison County Jail on no bond.
So her daughter was 3 years old when she lost her mama, and even though that Chrissy didn't know her mama, she was about 1 year old when her mama passed away. So I have that Barbara's daughter was speaking, they said, a few weeks before the arrest, and so now I have one of her speaking after. Trista says, all things are possible with God. You can't escape the things you have done. It will come back to you eventually. You can't outrun God. Amen, Trista. Amen. You got that right. Absolutely. And he says vengeance is his too. We know that.
Major break in an Iowa cold case. Barbara Lenz went missing 36 years ago. Now, Robert Allen Davis is charged with first-degree murder.
And this is the first arrest since the Iowa Attorney General formed a cold case unit last summer. Lenz's family tells KCCI they are shocked, grateful, and emotional today.
This would be my first birthday.
Lindsay Baumgart looks through the only...
Guys, so it said that they just had formed the cold case unit, or just had been investigating this certain case since last summer. And so this was in March, so not even a whole year. And so this gives me a lot of hope. And I think that Chrissy said that they also had her mama's case. I believe that's what she said. Now, hopefully, let's hope so. And they're hopefully working just as hard.
Photos she has with her mother.
I'm guessing I was under a year, maybe like 6 to 8 months here.
Only a handful of pictures capture the two together.
I feel that look that she's giving me. Yeah, pure joy. That's what that is.
The love is clear, but the memories have started to fade.
I don't remember the sound of her voice, or honestly, even as a child, how she appeared to me.
Baumgart was only 3 years old when her mother, Barbara Lenz, disappeared from her apartment in Woodbine. The small western Iowa town has lived with the mystery for decades. Lenz's missing person file kept in this dusty cabinet with few answers until now. Robert Allen Davis is charged with first-degree murder nearly 36 years after Lenz disappeared. His arrest happened Monday during a traffic stop in Council Bluffs. It's the first arrest by the state's cold case unit.
It's something that I have honestly waited for my whole life.
Even though Lenz's body has never been discovered, a new detailed criminal complaint lays out why cold case investigators believe Davis murdered her. The complaint says Davis was Lenz's boyfriend and was known to be violent and even strangled her during their 2-year relationship. Witnesses told investigators that Lenz was afraid of Davis and tried to get away.
It really kind of put her safety and my safety in jeopardy, which is why my dad took protection over me.
Baumgart went to live with her father in Omaha at age 3. Before that, she says...
Even, you guys, we know that women, it takes an average of 7 times before they can leave for good. And we know that that is the most dangerous time in these kind of relationships. And can we just imagine how hard it was for her to sign over? She did it willingly. She signed her daughter the rights over to her ex to keep her safe. And that just makes me like, oh, because she loved her that much that she was worried about her safety, of course, above her own. So bless her.
Davis hurt her. The criminal complaint references this assault in a Woodbine restaurant in 1988, where witnesses saw Davis hit Lentz's daughter. The violence allegedly continued for months after that toward Lentz. In August of 1988, Davis admitted to choking her down until she was unconscious. The criminal complaint says there are witnesses for several of these violent incidents, and Lentz sought medical attention for her injuries.
Did Barbara ever share those concerns?
If he didn't care to hurt a child in public like that, what would he do behind closed doors? You know? And why wasn't he charged for hurting that baby? Why wasn't he in jail for that? That's a good question too. I haven't looked into this case, you guys, just very little to so that I could bring it to you guys, but I got questions.
With you? Did she ever talk
She
about being
She
afraid?
didn't. You know, it was a huge surprise to us that she would ever do that.
Barbara's younger brother, James Lenz, says he didn't know at the time why his sister signed over custody of her daughter. He says after her death, he learned about Davis's violence.
Finally put a marker up on my mom and dad's grave to mark it. So that was probably the time. Excuse me. Stop a second.
Tears flow when he thinks about how both of his parents went to their grave without knowing what happened to Barbara.
Yes.
Oh, guys, I didn't even think about that. You know that he was probably so glad that somebody was being, that was having to take, responsibility for what they did to his sister. But that also would mean that she's not coming back. You probably have that little bit of hope that she'll come back one day, no matter how small it is. And with this arrest, that last piece of hope was dashed.
Needed some closure there a little bit.
That closure is finally here 3 decades later. The family says cold case investigators called them Monday and said 3 words: "We got him."
Very emotional. Very emotional.
Baumgart hopes this arrest will lead to her mom's remains.
Justice for me would be bringing my mama home.
She was kind of a free spirit of the family, but heart of gold. I mean, really loved her daughter, that was the center of her life.
A mother's love knows no bounds, and neither does a daughter's grief.
It's immeasurable. I think, I was in her womb, so I'm a part of her, and to have that taken away it's like having a part of yourself taken away.
So many emotions 36 years later. They tell me they're feeling all of those emotions today. And Jody, the criminal complaint also says that a witness told investigators that Davis and his brother buried something in a rural area near Davis's home. That's in the criminal complaint. It's unclear if Davis is cooperating or if authorities will get to check that property.
Well, Davis is currently being held in the Harrison County Jail on a $3 million bond. Laura, you have been keeping your pulse on this story for many, many weeks. Great reporting on seeing this through.
Thank you.
A major...
Guys, I missed that at the end where it said that the brother and him were seen burying something on his property. Oh my goodness. They need that too. Hopefully that can be, if there's some kind of deal to be made, that can be made where he has to say where she is. Yeah, I said I don't like to use the word closure because I don't feel that there's ever true closure, but you might have, a resolution to some questions, but never closure. Yeah. So I think that that's all that I have for you guys today. But like I said, all of Chrissy's links are in my description, and that link tree is really good. It has a lot of good links in there, and her website is really good. It says justice and the number for Wilma June Nissen, and and then the I also have that same flyer with the QR code. I do have it on my community post um, too, so that you guys can share that. You don't have to share my whole post. You can just take a screenshot of that and share that if you guys want to. Or but like and I'll keep up with this too. Absolutely, absolutely will. And if you guys have any more suggestions that we can look into, I don't care a bit. I will do my very very best. And I do have some updates of some of our other cases. That we can possibly do later this week, since I missed my one last week. But thank you all so very much for coming to listen about Wilma today. And thank you to my mods and my friends for helping me. I appreciate you guys so, so, so very much. Um, and I hope that you all have a great day. And don't forget to say your prayers and take your vitamins too. And I love you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.